So today we're going to cover the last three topics on the flyer. I will pop up a picture of the flyer here in a moment so that you can see it. So this was the handout, it's double page here, that had been in the church bulletin. The topics for this time are: who is the board? What is CAM meeting? And what is the Benevolent Fund for? You'll see down below my meeting ID and the passcode. That could be used if in the future you have some questions that you'd like to have addressed. You probably have heard someone say the board decided such and such, or the board is meeting such and such a time, or maybe someone else said, I went to CAM meeting, or I'm planning to go to camp meeting to stay for the period of time. And it is a fact that we have a benevolent fund. So now I'm going to switch to some slides that talk to this topic, and I'll share those as well so you have access to them on the video. And I'm not doing it as a slideshow this time. I'm just going to step down through them one at a time. So how does my church work? We've had a series of these local discussions that are interactive, at least at the time when we did them, talk about how our local congregation and the Seventh-day Adventist denomination as a whole work. In other words, how things get done. So tonight's topic again, what's the board? What is CAM meeting? And what is the Benevolent Fund for? I'm going to divert back to the church manual again. It provides direction and guidance to local congregations and other levels of the Adventist organization. It also gives a sense of the reasoning behind a particular policy or way of working, often some historical perspective. It's updated periodically. And it's available online. You can download it as a PDF. I can provide you a copy of the current version if you want. You can get it as an ebook also, I believe, for the ebook readers. Tonight's topic starts on page 134, several pages in the church manual under the heading Church Board and its Meetings. There's nothing in the church manual about CAM meeting. However, if you look at the annual newsletter that the Idaho Conference sends out, you can find the dates of the annual CAM meeting and also topics and speakers. There are also usually some flyers in the bulletin through the course of the year as we approach the mid-June time period when CAM meeting takes place here. In the relevant to the Benevolent Fund, there's a section, a topic heading called Assisting the Poor and Needy. That's on page 144 in the church manual. So that's some overall guidance and direction. So who is the board? You could think of the church board the same way you might have for our congregation as the executive committee for the church. The same way you might have an executive committee for a business that makes decisions when the entire business can't get together all at once. The board is active here and other congregations in the Adventist Church, implementing the evangelism, spiritual, and discipleship activities, and in carrying out decisions made by the business meetings that the congregation holds. The pastors, a member of the church board, other key leaders as well, especially the elders. The essential membership is defined in the church manual. 134 and forward talks about it. The local congregation, via the nominating committee that puts forward a set of people to fill roles, you could call it officers, on an annual or every other year basis to supplement the membership of the board. The board meets on a regular basis, for example, monthly, to review reports and to make plans and decisions for needed actions. The board's meetings are normally open to each church member. Now, if there's some sensitive things that have to be dealt with, they might go into what another organization would call executive session, where they ask non-members to leave. But normally, any matters, whether it's financial or whatever, they're open to any church member to attend and even participate in the discussion, although the voting is limited to church board members. And the church board also might appoint committees for specific purposes. For example, there is a finance committee that's a standing committee that's part of the offices that are defined when the nominating committee makes its report. But there could be special purpose committees set up at any time. So if there are no questions, we'll move on to what is CAM meeting. It harks back to really a couple hundred years ago, the Great Awakening in the northeastern United States, especially. The churches of the day, Methodists, for example, and others, would hold large gatherings that were literally camp meetings. They'd have a large field, maybe somebody's farm, somebody would let them use their farmland. They would have tents pitched. People would bring their own gear, not literally for camping like we might think of it today in a national forest or something, but they would have pitched tents. Nowadays, of course, it's most often RVs rather than tents, and they're often more permanent accommodations like a dormitory at an academy or a college or something like that for those who are staying over. So most local conferences schedule a multi-day meeting. It's intended for all members of the conference, held at something like a central location, and has some provisions, as I've described, for overnight stays, preaching, maybe training classes. There are classes for kids of all different ages, youth, and so on. There might be an evangelistic aspect to it as well, depending on the choice of the local one. And that is a main purpose of CAM meetings going way back, and still is evangelistic, both long-term members and for new believers. Evangelistic in the sense of good news. Social aspects are also important. The presenters often include local conference leaders as well as speakers who've been invited from across the Adventist denomination. The next topic, what is the Benevolent Fund for? The church manual talks about caring for the needy, the poor. Our local congregation chose to call its Benevolent Fund the Good Sam Fund, harking back to the extended efforts that the Samaritan traveler in Jesus' story, who cared for a wounded Jewish traveler when others had ignored the traveler. It's found in Luke 10. We maintain a reserve balance so that funds are available at any time to meet needs. Now, that doesn't mean we could meet any need, any conceivable need, but we do keep a reserve balance so that we don't have to ask for donations generally at the time a request is made. And the fund is available for both church members to support church members and others in the local area where there's a need identified. We have in place a policy statement that was voted by the church board. The policy statement defines a process to make an application to apply for assistance and the kinds of things we will provide funding for, and then defines also the approvals that are required before the funds are spent. And usually we try to purchase some goods or services for those in need rather than just dispersing cash directly to them. For example, we could take them to a gas station and buy gas where the purchaser puts the gas into the person's vehicle, and then the receipt is turned in for reimbursement. Or similarly with a grocery store, or if it's a need for, as we recently had, for some winter boots. The boots are purchased, provided to the person, and then the person who purchased them is reimbursed from church funds for making the purchase. We also work with other community organizations, for example, Help Inc., and there's also a humanitarian center, and there's a Christian aid organization here in the area as well. And we also keep tuned to what aid or assistance is available in the community, so that, for example, if a person needs a place to stay for the night, or if the person needs a hot meal, those are possibilities where we don't necessarily provide the assistance, but point them to the particular local organization that can provide that kind of assistance. Our attempt is to be a good community member and a good steward of the funds that God has provided. Those are the three topics that we covered today. Again, who is the board? So it's not a nebulous entity. It's the set of leaders appointed by the church. The nominating committee defines the list as a recommendation to the church as a whole, and the church votes on that. So the board isn't some secret thing or anything. Members can attend and participate in the discussion. Camp meeting, again, a multi-day meeting. Some of them used to be a week or longer. For example, the Oregon Conference in Western Oregon would start on a Thursday evening and run through a week plus a couple days to the next Sabbath evening. And of course, people then would still be there on Sunday morning, the ones who were staying over on the campgrounds, the camping location. Most of them today are shorter, usually Tuesday through Sabbath, like the Idaho Conference, or some of them are even shorter, perhaps starting on a Thursday evening and running through the Sabbath, end of Sabbath. Oftentimes in the summer, so that people can are able to be outside. Certainly having a camp meeting in the winter in Idaho, if it literally involved camping, wouldn't be so pleasant. And then our Benevolent Fund, our Good Sam, as we call it, Good Sam Fund, is available to assist members as well as community folks who have needs and can identify a way to address those needs with funds. That'll be it. I could do future topics, and I'm willing to do that. I have a Zoom account. You saw the meeting code and the passcode. So if we need to set up one, it isn't a big deal, but we can certainly do that. I hope this has been helpful, this one, plus the other two previous ones. And again, we can convene again if we need to, if there are particular topics that need to be covered. That'll be the end of this discussion. If you have any questions, you can give me a call, contact me via email, and we can set up a Zoom session if we need to. Thank you.